Thank you all very much for your patience and welcome back to this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. Before we carry on, I do need to quickly just double check with members of the committee that no one has any interest to declare, as we forgot to do that at the start of the meeting. So members, any interests?
No, I have no interest to declare.
No, nothing to declare.
And I have no interest either. There we go. So the committee have deliberated and we have a decision. The format of the decision is that you will hear the overall decision. We will rehash the positions of both the applicant and the responsible authorities and go through the reasons why we made the decision. And you will receive a copy in writing afterwards. In the matter of Licensing Act 2003, notification of temporary events notices ×3, Casa Flamenca 22 to 23, the Boardwalk, Portsmouth, PO6 40p. All parties shall receive written confirmation of the decisions and reasons. Decision. The subcommittee has considered very carefully the submission of 3 temporary events notices at Casa Flamenca and whether to issue counter notices in each case. It gave due regard to the Licensing Act 2003, the licensing objectives, statutory guidance and the adopted statement of licensing policy. Being satisfied that the statutory limits are not exceeded by the proposed events, the subcommittee must determine whether conditions ought to be imposed or if the event should go ahead. In making this determination, the subcommittee noted that it must issue a counter notice to prevent the temporary event from taking place if it considers it appropriate for the promotion of one or more of the licensing objectives, as per paragraph 7.34 of the guidance and section 105(2)(b) of the Licensing Act 2003. The subcommittee considered the representations, both written and given and expanded upon at the hearing by both parties. Human rights legislation and the public sector equality duty has been borne in mind while making the decision. Each notification was considered separately. However, as the facts and issues are materially the same for each notification, it was agreed that they be heard together. After considering all of the above, the subcommittee has determined that a counter notice should be issued for all 3 of the temporary events notices. Reasons. For the police, it was argued that the temporary events notices would essentially allow the premises to trade in a business-as-usual fashion for a significant part of the suspension period. That those now in control of the premises were in control at relevant times for the offences or breaches of the licence discovered on the premises, which led to the review. The premises now seeks to undermine the previous decision of the subcommittee. Revocation was sought and nearly imposed. The suspension was imposed to promote the licensing objectives. Allowing the temporary events would therefore necessarily undermine the prevention of crime and disorder objective. The premises could continue to trade, just without the benefit of a premises licence. Customers could bring their own alcohol to the premises during the suspension. For the premises, it was stated that there is no issue or criticism of the review decision. December is simply the busiest time of the year. The premises has implemented a change in DPS as required and have transferred the premises licence into a new company name. The premises has updated paperwork and procedures. In addition to the DPS change, an additional personal licence holder has been appointed. It has been a whole year since the issue of concern at the premises, with no offences or any other matters of concern since, and the premises has served 11 days of the suspension already at this point. The changes implemented at the premises have addressed the risks to the licensing objectives. The notices are not attempts to undermine the decision to suspend. Licence holder has shown themselves to be responsible operators. Appropriate measures have been enforced for a considerable period of time. It has been proven over time the premises does not present a risk. Alcohol sales represent around 40 to 50% of the business turnover, and if counter notices are served, the premises will be empty for 14 days, and the premises has been fully closed until now. The subcommittee noted that the notification sought provision for the sale by retail of alcohol, regulated entertainment and late-night refreshment. There has been a representation from the police objecting to the temporary events notices on the basis that the licensing objective of the prevention of crime and disorder would be undermined if the events are allowed to go ahead. Notification of the determination of the review hearing was given at the conclusion of the hearing, and accordingly the period for appeal concluded on the 19th of November, and the suspension came into effect the following day, 20th of November, running for 1 month. The 3 notifications in this case sought licensable activities during time periods ordinarily permitted by the premises licence, the notifications only being necessary due to the suspension of the licence following review. All 3 temporary event notice periods notified would have run during the suspension period previously imposed. The facts of the review do not need to be rehearsed in full here, as they are set out in the report and previous decision, but the subcommittee found important facts to be: 1. That the licence came close to revocation by the previous subcommittee. 2. That the suspension was considered appropriate, following careful consideration of the financial impact in accordance with the statutory guidance. 3. That the decision for the suspension makes it plain the suspension was imposed with the consideration of the deterrent effect that such suspension would create, presumably in respect of the premises and wider deterrence. And 4. That the suspension was considered important in order to promote the licensing objectives, and in particular the prevention of crime and disorder. Whilst the subcommittee noted that there is some distinction between the notice regime and the premises licence, it being possible to conduct temporary events notice without a licence, the subcommittee came to the conclusion that it had to attach significant weight to the previous decision of the authority. That decision was made to promote the licensing objectives, and undermining it would undermine the licensing objectives of the prevention of crime and disorder. It was therefore appropriate to determine that counter notices should be served. The changes at the premises were noted to bring the premises to a state of compliance, and whilst not unlawful to propose to undertake temporary events, the subcommittee was ultimately of the view that allowing this would undermine licensing objectives. There is a statutory right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court, which must be lodged at the court within 21 days of the notification of this decision. That concludes our meeting today. Thank you all very much.